Hello, my peoples, and welcome to this week's episode of Vinyl Douche ASMR. And this week we are looking into Rick James' classic album, Street Songs, which came out in 1981. So, if you like this kind of stuff, like and subscribe to the channel, or not. But sit back and relax, because we're going to get into this. The first introduction I got to Rick James was through the song Super Freak. Not because of the song initially, but because it was sampled by MC Hammer in like 1990. And that became a huge worldwide phenomenon. That's what I can call it. And that was, during my childhood and, grade school into middle school. So MC Hammer, that was huge, especially for kids. But I remember hearing a mix with, Can't Touch This. That's the name of the song. And then, after Hammer's part, they would, cut into Rick James. And that's when I, sort of, realized, I go, okay, this is a sample. I think I was like 11 or something. Maybe 10. But, I'm like, oh, okay. And it started, as the years went by, I would hear Rick James' version, more often. And sort of start seeing, who he was. And, his colorful legend, even grew more colorful, in the early 2000s, when, he will always be connected, at this point, to Dave Chappelle and the Chappelle Show, which, if you haven't watched the Chappelle Show, it's more than a TV show. It's a moment in comedy, and I think Chappelle was already a household name before the Chappelle Show, but definitely became the very important figure in comedy afterwards, and the Chappelle Show is definitely connected to that. And what helped the Chappelle Show's popularity was the Rick James Charlie Murphy sketch, which Rick James actually participated in himself. To my point, he'll always be connected to it. We just diverted into Chappelle Show. But Rick James himself is, I know he was from Buffalo. He lived there after his success. But this album was recorded in 1980, a year before its release, and it was recorded at the record plant in California and Motown Studios in Hitsville, USA, and USA Recording Studios in Los Angeles. And it was his most popular album. Give It To Me Baby was number one R&B single on the charts. Spent 5 weeks there. Super Freak was number 16 on the Billboard Top 100. So, it did great. It sold 4 million copies worldwide, and he was nominated for Best Male R&B Performer. And he was the first African-American male to be nominated for Best Male Rock Vocal Performance category for Super Freak that year. So, good for Rick. Super Freak, Give It To Me Baby. He's on the R&B rock side. What I love about Rick James, even before the comedy, was just he was unique in his style. You couldn't really pin him down. He's not altogether like a rock guy like Jimmy was, and he's not altogether like an R&B guy like Luther Vandross. And he's not a straight up pop person like Michael Jackson. And at the same time, he has this sort of gritty side to him, which comes out in his music. Sort of like gritty and a little bit of definitely a sort of street poet. So is the name of the song, the name of the album, Street Songs. So yeah, Rick's the man. R.I.P. Yes, he also sounds terribly misogynistic, unfortunately, but I dug his music. The cover here was shot by Ron Slenzak, and he shot this cover here and the back cover as well, which is Rick James getting harassed and arrested by the police while his women look on. Alright, so the music, there's also and actually I should have sort of led with this, but there are some insane guests on this album. So the performers, let's get to them. Rick James, he's on lead vocals. Janet Dubois is on background vocals. Melvin Franklin is on background vocals and Give It To Me Baby. Lawrence Hilton Jacobs, background. Tina Marie is lead vocals on Fire and Desire, which wasn't officially a single, but got so much airplay it became one. And she also has background vocals on a couple songs. And the first sort of thing that blew my mind is the Mary Jane Girls are background vocals. And if you don't know the Mary Jane Girls, you should go check out the song All Night Long by the Mary Jane Girls. And it's a classic song, and it's a actually extremely influential song in hip-hop. And the Temptations are credited as being performers and background vocals in Ghetto Life and Super Freak. And the Temptations make up Dennis Edwards, Melvin Franklin, Glenn Leonard, Richard Street, and Otis Williams at this point. Rick James is also credited as the arranger, and he's on bass guitar. He's also a composer, and he's also on drums, guitar, horns, percussion, producer, timbales, and timpani. So yes, he's sort of like another Trent Reznor type. There's a lot of musicians on it. I'm not going to name everyone, but I am going to name one person, and that is Stevie Wonder, who plays harmonica on Mr. Policeman, which I think is just extraordinary. What an album. And Alonzo Miller is the producer and composer on the album. Alright, let's check it out. I think I'm going to keep this cover, so I like the sealants. dust covers. This paper cover is bad. What a shame. Alright. Gotta do something about this. Okay. This is side 2. Let's get it on side 1. Yeah, I see it's on Gordy Records. Must be Barry Gordy, legendary. Alright. It is getting dark in here. With the assistance of the album jackets. Alright, on side 1 we have the Give It To Me Baby, followed by Ghetto Life, followed by Make Love To Me, followed by Mr. Policeman. And side 2 we have Super Freak, Fire and Desire. Call Me Up, and Below the Funk, Past the J. Excellent. Alright, I'm gonna have to dig in the crates to see if I have another one, but I'll do that later. Just for now, put it back in this decrepit thing. This is such a no-no. I know. Yay. Terrible. God. Okay. Stock up my dust jackets. I actually thought I had replaced it already. Guess not. Alright, here we have it. 1981 Street Songs by the great Rick James. Thank you for listening, everybody. See you next week.